Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Phantom Tollbooth Cornerstone 2008 press tent. Joining us this morning from Faceless International, Stephen and Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, good morning, guys. We are just here to hang out and talk about Faceless and other charities and organizations and nonprofits and the such, and kind of give you guys an overview of what's going on in our world, and hopefully figuring out ways that you can impact your world. So Sarah and I were in Haiti, what, 2.5 years ago now, 3 years ago? And we had just taken a trip. I had just contacted Sarah and was just like, hey, put this together, make this happen. I want to,
Actually, the real story is I had called him to pray for me because I was going to go to Haiti, and we had known each other for a couple years prior to that, and I had called him to pray for me, and then he said that he wanted to come, and then he said, oh, I have all these friends who want to go.
So then we got a group of people. I think we only had 11 at that point, correct? So the trip went incredible. We flew into Port-au-Prince, and then flew over the mountains to Jacmel, and then walked about an hour and a half up a mountain to Maino. And it was an incredible adventure for us, not only being able to see a whole new culture, but some of these people had never seen Caucasians ever. And so they were very hesitant, very standoffish. And by the end of the week, needless to say, we felt right at home. They created a huge bonfire, brought everybody together, and it was just an incredible event. It felt like something straight out of like National Geographic, as far as like the dancing and the singing and the food, and it was just incredible to experience that kind of culture. But it had impacted Sarah and I's life so much that we knew that this couldn't be the end. This couldn't be it. We couldn't stop here, and felt like we needed to. I felt called to bring more band people, because I understand the impact that people with a sense of stage or with a sense of presence can impact the lives of not only the listeners but the other band members and also bands that they might tour with. So that was where my heart was. And then Sarah, you had a little different heart.
Yeah, my heart. I was a youth leader for the 5 years, for the year that we went to Haiti, and for 4 years after that, and then I was a teacher for a year. So my heart was obviously for people who come to Cornerstone, like you guys, and young people and students and college kids and young professionals, people who are not on stage, because I did not grow up around music. This is all new to me too, and so my heart was more toward the kids, the youth, and the college students that come with us. So we kind of blended our two interests.
And so there in Haiti, we kind of both had this, it felt simultaneous. I don't know if it was, but I was just like, Sarah, we have to keep doing this. This is something that just can't stop here. I want to take more trips. And the thing about me is I'm absolutely scatterbrained. I'm an ADHD. I couldn't even tell you where I'm going to be tomorrow. I think it's Dallas, I'm not sure. But it's like that. I'm just so out. But I love to be a visionary, and I love to go out there and help people as much as I possibly can. I'll work all day in the heat, whatever it takes to impact people's lives, but I'm not great with the details. And on the other hand, she is amazing with the details. And I think that I've read a lot of leadership books, and one of the things that Maxwell says is that as a leader, exploit your weaknesses and be absolutely honest about it, and then find people in your life to come aside and fill those gaps. So I think Sarah and me absolutely complement each other, and so that's how Faceless began.
And then there was another guy too who started with us, named Seth, who used to work with Stephen, and now he's actually a youth leader. But he's the middle one, and he toured with Stephen, so he knows the music side of things, but he's a youth leader now, so he's kind of the perfect blend of Stephen and I. And my weaknesses are very much so doing things like this. I don't like attention, I don't like the spotlight, this is really weird to me. And
on the other hand, I'm absolutely cocky, so I'm great. This tension just basking in it.
Not true! This is his job, and this is not my job, and so that's another way we balance each other, for sure, Stephen. Yeah, so, and then Seth is up here in spirit also, so.
So where's Faceless going from here?
Faceless is going all over the world from here. After Haiti, we went to India, and we took Stephen and Dion and Jimmy from To Right Love on Our Arms, another awesome organization that we're fully support, and Matt from Classic Crime, and Patrick and Josh from The Showbread, and Bill from 100 Year Storm, and Clint from Triple X Church. Everybody. And we all went to learn about human trafficking and modern day slavery. And if you guys were here yesterday, some of you might have seen our video that talked about it, and you guys saw clips of it yesterday before Stephen played. We were excited to see that happen. And if you visit our booth, you can hear more about what we learned. We have little postcards to give you guys, but that definitely changed my life personally, and so I definitely see Faceless. In fact, we are definitely going in December. We're taking some people in December like yourselves, just college kids and from all over the country, and actually we have some Australians going with us, which is really cool. And then we're taking some other bands hopefully in January if that all works out. And then from there, we hope to take some spring break trips over different spring break times in March and April. So if you're interested, definitely sign up for our email list, and you can come with us in the spring or in the summer. I have some ideas for summer trips that I'm awfully stoked about. So.
But let me just pause right here in the history of Faceless and just say that it doesn't take a rock star and a detail person to make an impact on this world. It doesn't take someone like Jamie from To Right Love. It doesn't take Gandhi. It doesn't take any of these people. You know, you don't even have to go to India or Haiti or Guatemala like we just went, or Ecuador. You can make an impact in your lives right here in your own community. And it doesn't matter with what organization. Start your own. You know, I mean, this world is in desperate need, period. It's not desperate need for, you know, this type of person or a lawyer or a doctor. It's just in absolute desperate need. And if you go back into the Bible, it said, pure religion is this, to love the widows and the orphans. It doesn't say pure religion is to start an absolutely successful band or start an absolutely successful organization or you know, go graduate from med school. All it takes, all pure religion is to love the widows and orphans and keep yourself unspotted. So that's what we are begging you to do. It doesn't matter if you come with us. We honestly, you know, if Faceless stopped tomorrow, then it's all been worth it as long as one person there in wherever we have been in the past has been helped. What matters is the future, and to be honest, it's not us. We are not the future. Faceless isn't going to make you know, an earth-shattering difference. What's going to make an earth-shattering difference is if every single person in this tent gets out of their chairs and decides today that they are going to make an impact on this world, then we're going to do it, but we have to do it together. And it's not going to take just one trip, because what we do is we focus on humanitarian projects with the underlying theme of Jesus Christ. And the thing about it is, it's not, these 1 week trips isn't what makes the difference. It's when you come home and you're a changed person. When I was first exposed to, you know, the quote unquote mission field or whatever you want to call it, at 12 years old, I went to Mexico City and saw other 12-year-old kids in the city dump. And there all I did was cook beans and rice and handed out bananas. That's all I did. But after 5 days of that, you do not come home the same person. You know, there was no way I could walk home and go right back into the lifestyle and just pretend like that never happened. I was changed. I knew from that day forth that there was other kids around the world that didn't have Xbox 360, that didn't have, you know, the luxury of even an education or a schooling. And so I was changed at 12 years old. And at 17, I went to the Ukraine and there spent 2 months working with post-communist children and seeing just the depressed look and the frustration and the fear in their eyes. You don't come home changed. You know, you don't come home the same. But you have to take that change, you have to take what you learn and apply it to your life. We could sit here and talk to you all day and give you the most Tony Robbins spiel and make you feel so empowered. But if you don't walk away and do anything with it, this is all meaningless, you know? I mean, even James talks about don't be just hearers of the word, but be doers. And in the same light, you know, Faceless is just another name, another organization. But because we put it into action, because we didn't just talk about it, because we heard about, the human trafficking, and we did something about it. We were doers of the word. That's why, and that's how we're going to make an impact. And so in the same light, that's what we're asking you to do today, is not just to be hearers of Faceless and every other organization out there, but be doers, impactors. Start your own, like I said before. You had something to say?
Yeah, I do, thank you. Like I said, we took our first trip to Guatemala with people who weren't in bands and just college kids from all over the country. And there is a boy named Eric from Kansas City, and I don't think I told you this actually. And he had an amazing time and had his life completely changed like Stephen and I did. It was his first time out of the country, and he learned about fair trade and coffee, and he was a big coffee drinker, and it was just perfect for him. And he came home, and his whole personality and his whole outlook on life changed so much so that he almost got sad, because he's like, I'm here, what can I be doing? I've got to be doing something, and it started stressing him out. So he made sandwiches for people and handed them out to all the homeless people in downtown Kansas City. And that was an active thing that he could do in his own city, because he knew, well, I can't travel all the time. I'm in college. God put me here for a reason. I have to finish school, and I'm doing great things with my church. So this is something that I can do because of the change that I experienced in Guatemala. And so once again, our heart is just to have you make change, whether it be in your city or in your state, in your community or in the world. You can use your talents and your passions to make a difference. And Stephen uses his talent of singing to make a difference. But you guys all have talents that God has given you, whether it be photography or art, or I know one of you has a talent in journaling and makes beautiful journals here, and I know another one of you takes beautiful pictures here, and I know some of you guys probably like art or have a really cool fashion sense or can write really well. I mean, just so many really cool talents. Yeah, like you're right there, there you go. You can... You guys can all do amazing things with the talents that God has given you. It's just finding your little niche. So that's I definitely agree, the true heart behind Faceless for sure.
Great. Incredible.
Do you guys want to have any questions that you want to ask? I think Dan has a microphone back there.
Yes, if you have any questions, please step up to the audio table here, and we'll be happy to. This is being podcast, so. Don't say anything that you wouldn't want the world to hear.
I love you.
Hi, how's it going?
It's great. How are you?
Great, cool shirt by the way.
Yeah, yours is all right too.
Yeah, So I have a question. What drew you guys to India first? I mean, there's so many places around the world that need help. What was it about India that you guys were like, let's go there and see what's going on?
I think it was duality. First, I, again, am very ADHD, so I hate visiting the same place twice. So I was like, man, I've never been to India. But the more I started to learn about it, I think we both started to really focus on human trafficking. And that's just one thing that absolutely breaks my heart. And it's I was telling my brother really recently, I think that for me personally, human trafficking trumps all other causes. And I'm not saying like, ooh, Faceless or anything like that, but I'm saying for me personally, because there's something about a 12-year-old going into prostitution that absolutely breaks me like nothing else. There's something about a 10-year-old that had a child, a 9-year-old, two 9-year-olds that were pregnant.
7-year-old who couldn't walk because she was raped so much.
She was raped at 7-year-old so much that her back was forever broken. Not broken, but it was just out. And then she can't walk anymore at 7 years old. And for me, I was crushed. I remember walking in the red light district. We all did. But there was a point where I literally could have just frozen. I could have laid on the ground and just not moved for days because I felt so encompassed, so heavy, so much like just immobile because of a broken heart. And but not that I knew that was going to happen, but I knew that my heart was very much pulled that way. And so I think I more or less convinced you, like, hey, I think we should head off to India.
And at the same time he was learning about it, I was learning about it actually through a mutual friend who worked through an organization called International Justice Mission, which if human trafficking is something that is a passion you can get behind and you want to use your talents to support, I personally highly recommend them. I know a couple of people who work there. We have a mutual friend who used to work there, and it's just they are the ones who actually take the girls out of the brothels and put them in the safe art houses that we volunteered at. And so they're the ones doing all the hard work. We just got to play and meet some really cool girls who had already been rescued by IJ and other people who do all the hard, good work. So I personally would definitely recommend you checking out their website at ijm.org. So for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
I believe we have another question.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Awesome.
How do you decide what missions to take on? Does it always involve human trafficking, or are there other things like well digging and HIV and different?
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about Guatemala and what we did there?
Yeah, I just took, like I said, a group to Guatemala to learn about fair trade, and we explored, truthfully, the pros and the cons behind fair trade, and it's a great idea, but I mean, nothing is going to be perfect. But I mean, it's an awesome thing, and it's doing great things to help people, and that ties in really well with human trafficking, because a lot of the times, or modern day slavery, the coffee farmers who aren't fair trade are working 20 and 21 hours a day even, and during coffee season, and getting paid maybe 10 cents or 15 cents a pound for their coffee. And so it ties in really well with the whole idea of slavery, and so the two blend really well. And fair trade is close to my heart because it's just an easily fixed problem. I mean, if we are more conscious about the coffee we buy and where we buy it from, it's just such an easy thing that can be fixed, whereas human trafficking will take a while for us all to rally behind it. So
It's amazing how much miseducation America has about human trafficking.
yeah.
Because right now, we read some statistics pretty recently that said there's 300,000 slaves here in America alone, and that's more slaves in America right now than during the Civil War, which is just incredible to think about. And a lot of these people come from Eastern Europe, but to answer your question, no, we don't focus on human trafficking. That's just simply, it just seems like where we keep finding ourselves ending up in, which is great because it's just again, just a cause that I find absolutely worthy. But we're open to anything. Again, it's very humanitarian. I would love to go, dig a well in Kenya. I mean, if ever. But there's some great ministries out there doing that. Blood Water and also Charity Water are two amazing organizations that we hope to team up with, as soon as possible. But it's pretty much just going to all the world. It doesn't really, I don't think that we care about exactly the causes, and even the name Faceless is just like pretty much across the board. Anyone, it doesn't matter what skin color, what humanitarian project we have to work on, we want to do it.
God just keeps providing people to us to lead us in the right direction. So I'd love to talk with you if you have any suggestions.
Very good set last night, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely awesome.
Thank you very much.
Morning.
Good morning.
I was just wondering if we do have donations where they should be sent.
Oh, that's a really great question.
That is an amazing question. We have a PayPal set up. We have an online store. And so I'm redoing our website right now, actually. And so I'm working for a way for people to make donations online through our online store. So keep checking back soon, or you can stop by the table. I can give you my business card. I mean, there's various ways, but the online store would probably be the best. In a couple of weeks, it should be up.
And thank you so much for your money, but
Yeah.
as well, please donate your time too.
That's the most important.
And it's not just with Faceless. Donate it anywhere. There's some great websites that focus on that, like idealist.org. If you just go, or dosomething.org, you can just type in your zip code and it'll give you a list of volunteer activities. And it doesn't matter how young you are. I think 14 years old, you can read at the YMCA to underprivileged kids. 80 years old, it just doesn't matter. There's a list of things that people can get involved with. So thank you so much for your money. We know everybody works hard for that, but also please donate your time to anything you could possibly get your hands on. This world needs you very desperately.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I actually spoke to you briefly last night. I'm actually a soon-to-be published author.
Science fiction, that's great, man, incredible.
And I was actually hoping to donate part of the profit toward Faceless
That's
and to Red Glove on Earth.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Congratulations.
Well, I was wondering, like, when you went to like India and Guatemala and all that, I was wondering if you like stepped back and learned all the cultures and stuff from all the different countries and stuff.
Absolutely, I think that's a priority for us because I love the education process of Faceless as well. We don't just go in and try to like paint something and then run out. We try to go in there and try to sow like deep roots, like friendships and meaningful, and that's working side by side, like such as Seth, somebody that she had just mentioned in Mayno, every morning would get up and walk down this hour-and-a-half mountain with the people that he lived with, fill his buckets with water, and then walk an hour-and-a-half back up right alongside them. And then I had to wake up and feed some cows and dig up some roots and just farm right alongside them. But it was incredible because we not only traveled their country, but we immersed ourselves into their culture. And I think it's absolutely vital because when you come back from countries like India, who is completely, absolutely backwards from what you think of as Western culture, you go home with not only an appreciation of the culture, but you can understand a little more how to communicate or how to talk to someone. I've had several kinds of conversations with people from India since being back to America because not only can I relate with some of their cultural differences, but also we have a lot of mutual, places in mind, or we both ate the same foods, or came from the same, or I've been to where they're from. So it just makes for great conversation. But also, without understanding their culture, I don't know if you can understand them. And I know that sounds a little odd, but until you immerse yourself in their culture and learn why they do certain things, I don't know I think it makes it more difficult to try to reach them as people if you don't understand their culture. So yes, we absolutely try to immerse ourselves in the culture.
This is more for Stephen. You talk a lot about obviously using your voice and empowering this generation to do this kind of stuff. As you're out touring with the band and everything, you've done a lot of that. Maybe I know you talked a little bit about that earlier. Maybe you could expand on that, just how we could use our voice to what you're doing with that.
Yeah, absolutely, using your voice, but I don't think it's just auditory, voice. I believe it's just like what Sarah just said. She was saying if you're good at art, I feel like the Christian church has left a lot of stuff aside. Has pushed a lot of stuff aside and said, well, this is for the world and this is not for us, such as art, such as dance. There's many other things, everything from painting to sculpting. I feel like we've almost given up. We've almost pushed aside and said, well, this is for them. We'll draw the battle lines here, but it's not true. Some of the most amazing things, if our God, supposedly our God is the creator of this world, wouldn't we have the ultimate say-so on creativity? Shouldn't we be leading the forefront in music and in art and in culture? This is incredible. I feel like we've just thrown up our hands, but it's time for our generation to take it back. It's time for us to take back the music. It's amazing to see the infiltration of Christian culture into the general market, even in music. If you look at the newest cover of Alternative Press on Warped Tour, there's 3 of us that are Christian bands. It's Matt Thiessen and Corey from Norma Jean and myself. We're all on this Alternative Press cover, and it's just like all 3 of us got together and we're like, this is incredible, because 5-10 years ago this was unheard of. But I don't want it just in the music scene. Go out there and start painting and start sculpting and start crafting. Whatever you're good at, God gave you those talents for a reason. Don't neglect them. Start exposing them and get better and focus on it and train yourself. And then go out into all the world and preach the gospel. Because preaching the gospel, like St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. But in the same way, preach the gospel whatever you put your hands to. If you're sculpting, sculpt as if you're sculpting for Jesus Christ. Let's take back the arts. And I have no idea what the question was, but that was an awesome tangent. Podcast. Can I get an amen? Oh man, you 2 in the back just pass around the hat. We're gonna take up some tithes and offerings right now. Start singing. Just kidding. I wasn't kidding. Pass the buckets. I gotta get some Starbucks at the Dallas airport, and I got no money. I'm just kidding.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Incredible.
You named a statistic earlier. I think it was 300,000 slaves modern day in the United States.
Right. That's an estimation. I mean, no, it could be 500,000. You know, it could be less. But that's obviously just the.
That number blew us away. Can you give us just real briefly give us more information? Where are these?
Yeah. You know what? Surprisingly, they're not where you would think they would be. You know, you would think they were going to be in LA and New York, but there's a lot in Miami, but they're all over the United States. That's not the South or the North. There's not one place where it is, but wherever prostitution is, you'll find slavery. Absolutely, you'll find slavery. And these girls are promised a better life. If I had walked into your community and you were a poor farmer making $5 a year, and I said, listen, I'm gonna loan me your daughter. I will give you $5. I will double your yearly income. I will give you $5. I will take your daughter. She'll work for me. She's just going to be a maid around my house. I will give her an education, a better life than you could ever possibly give her. I will give her a great place to stay. And you know what? When you come up with that $5 next year, when you have a great crop, you buy her back for me, no questions asked. Of course, that sounds like a great deal for somebody that has no intelligence, no education. That sounds like an absolutely great deal. Well, let's say hypothetically, which will never happen. You come up with the $5. You come back to me. I've already sold your daughter, and she's $5 down. You know, she's been sold to someone else who shipped her to the United States. You come to me with that $5, and I say, well, it's been 2 years, and I charge a 50% interest. So right now you're looking at $10. There's no way you're ever going to get me $10. But even if you did, it's $15. And even if you came up with $50 to buy your daughter back, which is asinine that you could buy someone for $5, but $50, she's already 5 away, and you will never see her again. Never have any way of tracking her down, ever. You're a poor farmer that can't get across the country. You've been imported into the United States, of course, underground. A lot of them have come through port cities, you know, such again as Miami is a big port. They don't all just stay there. But again, anywhere you find prostitution, you're going to find human trafficking. And this is not just sexual slavery. This is also slaves, period. You know, this is people that, pretty much indentured servants for life. Do you have anything else to add?
I can think of a case right offhand that just happened. Actually, in May, I went to a funeral in Atlanta of a girl from the Ukraine who was told she was going to be a model here. And they shipped her to Detroit. And she was here for a while. They took her travel papers. She didn't speak English. She thought she was in New York City, but she was really in Detroit. Long story short, she was almost free. She was 10 minutes away from meeting the IJM person that she was meeting, and her captors found her and killed her. And it was just sad. But her funeral, this is why I tell the story. Her funeral, I went up to it. It was the most beautiful funeral I've ever seen, and people from IJM were there, and there are all these press people there, and just shedding light. And that's what she would have wanted, just shedding light on what happened. Because her last words, and I have her story, I can cry just thinking about it. I have her story taped up above my desk, and her last words, as she told the IJM person on the phone, was, "Don't let them forget me." And so they're just the faceless people in our own country that we don't even know about. But this was just in May to a 20-year-old Ukrainian girl. So.
And it's so bizarre that people just don't understand. Like, I had no idea these statistics, you know, even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but how ignorant we as Americans are to this. I mean, these people walk past us every day, you know. I mean, they're in, 300,000. That's a quite large number. So all of us have probably encountered one, if not walking by or saying hello or whatever it might be. But I just feel like I'm ignorant. We're ignorant to all these facts that these people are living right beside us. But it's time for us to make a change. It's time for us to get out there and say something. You know, I hope this gets all over the news. And I know this particular case in Atlanta, Georgia. But I think it's going to take something big. I think it's going to take something, a big crackdown on, a whole bunch of 12-year-olds for America to go, oh my goodness, this is really happening. Something, we're very emotional people. We need to be emotionally charged before we do something. And unfortunately, to us, these are just statistics. It's a number. These people have no faces. it's just 300,000. That's all our brain computes. So I really pray that this is exposed, because think about, we are a first world country. We are the United States. We are the superpower of the world, and we have 300,000. Imagine India and Mongolia and Ukraine, like all these places around the world, third world, where their police force isn't anywhere near ours. And in places like India, you can buy off the local politicians, very, very easily. And so you have a lot of, pretty much, for lack of a better term, legal prostitution with these young kids, and that's absolutely unfortunate.
Good morning.
Hello.
In about 19 days, I'm going with a group to Romania for a 3-week missions trip.
Incredible.
And we're going to be doing a bunch of youth ministry and stuff, and then some work in the towns, doing some service projects. But I was just wondering, we do all the preparation before getting to know the culture, studying our texts and getting to know more what we're going to expect. But they always tell us, it's going to be life-changing. You don't really know what to expect. Is there anything in advice or wisdom you can give me as to what's going to happen, or what I can expect overseas?
The thing that surprised me the most with my first time out of the country was the joy that these people have. And I was just telling, I think, a few people this throughout the week, just the inexpressible joy and peace and happiness that they have. They don't know their situation. They don't know that it's so different from everybody else. They don't know that they don't have the latest iPhone or the latest Apple computer or the latest whatever. They don't know any of that stuff exists. All they know is true joy, and it goes far beyond happiness. It's just joy. And every country I've been to, I've seen it. And so I'm excited for any of you guys to go to places, but especially you, just to see this true joy. So that would be my one piece of advice, just to look for that and to learn from it and embrace it and bring it back here, because it's different here.
Just make every moment count. Make every moment count. There's going to be times where you can just go be by yourself or get immersed in a book or something like that. And I just recommend that you just make every moment count. Try to impact as many people's lives as you possibly can. Befriend them. Use the translator. Go talk to people. Just make every moment count. But you know what? No matter how many words we could both express, we could be up here for hours. You'll never ever be prepared for what you're about to get into. And Romania is a beautiful country with great opportunities to work in orphanages. Man, their orphanages are way overpopulated, and so if you get a chance, please request that you go work in an orphanage, because when I was there was a 2-year-old child, little girl named Tia, who still couldn't walk because she was so malnourished. She could fit in your hands just like a little baby, and it was incredibly impactful. And I think that's where in Romania is where I got called, where I knew that I wanted to be a missionary in some capacity. So, but nothing anyone could ever tell you or say could prepare you. But just get ready, man. It's gonna be incredible. But thank you, man. Thank you for going out on the field. It's incredible.
Well, I was just wondering, you guys talked about how you went on these mission trips and you went to the red light district and places like that. And you said a bit about how the guy walked an hour and a half to get water, but I was wondering if you can expand on what else do you do on the mission trips? When you go into the red light district, what do you do? Do you tell them things? What exactly happens?
Well, each trip is different. Starting with Haiti, I felt like that was a culture that, we want to be immersed in the culture. Not only that, to kill stereotypes in the village, to work alongside them, to put gospel into motion. And that was pretty much Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti was definitely very much, I don't want to say more for their benefit, but it was just to break down the stereotypes, because these Haitians had never seen white Americans before. And I honestly got asked seriously if I had money trees in my backyard, and they're being serious because they associated me with being white and thus more godly and thus more rich, whereas they were black and less godly and poor. And that's the honest connotation that we have over there. And so the Haiti trip was definitely just breaking down those barriers. And so we just played and hung out with them and asked questions. And this guy's a killer soccer player, as is Nate Young, and so they played soccer with the Haitians and on a mountain. It was beautiful, and that was what needed to happen in this little mountain village. So
Yeah, they had been enslaved since 1800s by the French, and what they knew of white people that were passed down from generation to generation after they won their freedom was that white people are liars and thieves, and they're the white devils, and we're pretty much Satan. And so by the end of the week, again, talking about that campfire at the end of the week, the most powerful thing to me was an elderly gentleman from Haiti, I want to say in his 70s or 80s, and it was around the campfire. Everybody was very silent, and here he steps out forward crying, and he says, "Generations will hear of your kindness and your generosity," which meant the world to us, because here, when we first got to the village, they wouldn't come close to us. They wanted to come up and touch your hair and back off because they were so scared that we had tails and pitchforks and we were going to kill them or something. So again, to help out the community, to work in their schools alongside them, to work in their farms, and to bless them, hopefully. And again, to hear that generations will hear of us being there and breaking down the stereotypes and impacting our lives is something that we did in Haiti. But again, we adapt to whatever environment we're in. In India, we worked at a place called Apnea, and there we, I don't know if anybody saw the movie, but the Faceless video. But we went in there and we did everything from painting murals to the one guy who's teaching carpentry already, to dance, to me and Seth and Dion, we painted and sanded, and
some of the other guys taught music. The classic crime guys and showbreak guys taught the kids music, and it was like row, row, row your boat, and they made up a song called "India is Good," and so I was outside of school, and all of a sudden I heard this whole school of kids yell, "India is good, yeah." It was beautiful. It was beautiful, and they were just learning English, which is good for them because honestly, if you know English, you're going to be more successful, which is sad but true. And so these Indian kids are learning English at a young age through songs like "Row, Row, Row Boat," through Christian bands. So it was fun.
But again, so we just adapt to whatever environment we are. I'm sure when we're planning a trip to Africa, and whatever they need, whatever their specific needs are, that's what we're gonna, participate in. So
we're very conscious. I am very conscious, especially about not assuming I know what's best for what the country needs, because I'm, just a girl from Florida who, is learning just as much as everybody else here, and so I can't assume that I know what they need in India or Haiti or Africa, wherever we go. So I make it a very clear question, what can we do for you? What do you need? What can we work with you on, as opposed to saying, all right, we're gonna come in and we're gonna dig you this well, and by golly, you're gonna like it. Instead we say, well, do you need a well? Do you want a well? Maybe a school is more important. Maybe you already have a well. What can we do for you? So.
You always talk about what you can do in other countries and going on mission trips and stuff, but if there's so much human trafficking here and such, what can we do in America to help with that here?
I'm working I'm working on something for that with some people, and I don't know if I can say it or not, and I don't, because it's a band. But there is a band that wants to tour, and this just happened this week. Your guys are learning us at the same time Steven is. But there is a band here, and I might as well say it. The Showbreak guys want to do a service tour throughout the States at some point in time, and they're going to stop at different trafficking centers and work with people on their tour to bring awareness to the trafficking centers. So, that's exciting.
So the IJM is a big organization here in the United States as well. Call them and ask them to volunteer. Maybe you can do something as little as a file, or as as big as just donating your time or your money or whatever it might be. But you're absolutely right. This is like that moment in India where you absolutely want to just crawl up and you feel suffocated because there's just so much and you don't feel like you can do anything. And that's how it feels almost, because these people go to great lengths to make it very hard to find these girls and to make human trafficking get as little exposure as it possibly can, because it's just not good for business. And so you're right, it feels almost helpless to be able to be here and try to do something. But there are ways, and the IJM is your first step.
And then keep checking back the Faceless, because it's going to be fun to work with people across the country in that way too.
And educate your friends. Start telling, there's a lot of statistics online. A good resource, amazingly, is Condoleezza Rice. She is a very huge advocate for the fight against human trafficking. So there's a lot of statistics, maybe you can do a report on it in school, in high school or college or whatever it might be. Just start educating your friends and family, and hopefully building awareness will inevitably, get some stuff done in the community, not only in your community, but hopefully in the United States.
And then one last thing I just thought of too, when I was researching for India, I found lots of states actually have anti-trafficking campaigns for their state. I know Florida's a real big trafficking state, and there are 2 or 3 different nonprofits that focus on trafficking in Florida. And I know that there's some in Atlanta and some in New York and some in various places. So chances are, if you Google human trafficking in your state, there might very well be an organization you can volunteer with and just go and say, hey, I want to help you, and see what they say.
Stephen, when you guys tour with other bands that maybe aren't mission-minded, do you get a lot of opportunities to tell them these stories about you guys' travels and services? And are there bands from outside the Cornerstone community that are becoming interested in joining you guys on this?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I just had some great conversations actually with Travis from Gym Class Heroes. We were just talking about different just humanitarian projects and stuff, and he was telling me how he's very much involved with the Boys Club in his community. He actually helped fund a studio where that the kids can come in and just record their own tracks or whatever they want. They even named the studio after Gym Class Heroes there in I believe he was telling me it was right outside of Chicago. I'm sorry, Geneva, New York is where the studio is in the Boys and Girls Club. And so my primary focus is not to get people involved with Faceless. Even today, it's not to get people involved with Faceless. It's to get involved, period. I don't care what it is, because if all of us were to fight human trafficking, well then what about the homeless? And if all of us were to fight homeless, then what about third world countries like fair trade and these farmers that are getting absolutely ripped off by bigger economic systems? So when I talk to other people about humanitarian, I feel like Faceless is the key to the door, but I feel like the door is pretty much anything they want to do, and all I'm there to do is just to inspire and encourage and to keep going. But it absolutely comes up. Last year we flyered the entire Warped Tour trying to raise awareness about India. I'm working right now with a band called Scary Kids Scaring Kids, and they are going to do a lot of stuff for Faceless. Working on doing almost like an EP iTunes thing. So even though the other bands aren't going to go to the other countries, they definitely want to get involved. I'm working with Matt Teese, and he's going to do a lot of stuff for Bloodwater, and so I'm going to help hopefully write some songs with him so that he can record them and work on Bloodwater, funding them. And so again, it's not about Faceless. This whole thing is not about Faceless. It's about going into all the world and helping the widows and orphans, and that's what it's about.
Find your passion.
Do we have any more questions? We have time for a couple more. Here we go.
Hello. This is kind of a question that's just kind of now occurred to me. My tattooist told me the last time I got my tattoo was he's getting a mail order bride, and of course to us we're like, oh cool, it's hilarious, it's kind of a joke. But to him, he's actually he told me the process of how they pick and select. He travels over there, and he makes it seem like these mail order brides really are into it and everything, and that they're willing. And I was just kind of curious, would mail order brides be considered prostitution or brainwashed prostitution?
Well, they are promised absolutely a better life. And if you've ever been to the Ukraine, and my friend's just about to go to Romania, he will see some of the living conditions. I don't know if that would be considered human trafficking in a way, because it is voluntary. The girls are told exactly what's going to happen. You are going to get married, because they know they can get a green card. And that's the girl's primary, maybe they'll find love. I actually know a friend named Brian out in Florida who's whose dad got a mail order bride from Russia. And they worked out. They're still married. They're very happily married. But I think the girls are coming for a better life and a green card with the guise of having to...
I know nothing about that. I'm sorry.
So I don't know, but these girls aren't stolen, and they're not sold. You know, they're giving it. They're told what they're about to do, and so the girls opt for that. But it's a little sad and lonely on the guys' behalf. I mean,
it sounds like it's hit
go
or
get a
miss
haircut,
too.
man. Go find some people skills. Don't buy your love. It's sad. No offense to anyone in here who's a mail order bride.
This is kind of a random question.
Sure.
But you guys are Christians in the band world, and I went to Warped Tour and I saw everything that was there. How is that like? How do you stay true to your faith while being in that kind of environment every day?
I equate it a lot to being in a skyscraper, you know, like if you have hurricane force winds that are, you know, and it feels like the top of the building is swaying. The only reason that it hasn't crumbled as of yet is because of the foundation. And I believe it's the same way with us as being Christians. If you do not have a foundation solid in Jesus Christ, you are like the chaff which is going to blow away into the wind. And this, you know, and pretty much if you are not rooted firmly in your faith, in your beliefs, I don't care if you're in the band world or you're not. You could be at Warped Tour, or you could be off at Christian Summer Camp, or here at Cornerstone, and there's going to be people here. There's drugs on this campus. Somebody last night had promiscuous sex here at Cornerstone. Just because we're in this bubble doesn't mean that we're immune. And so it doesn't matter if you're at Warped Tour. Your faith is going to get tested no matter where you go. All of us, have been to high school. Hopefully we all go to college. You're going to get tested. It doesn't matter if Warped Tour or not. You could be at, the heart of the beast. It doesn't matter. You're going to get tested. But stay firm with your foundation. Find out what you believe. Find out the deep questions. Why is there pain and suffering in the world? Why do I believe in Jesus Christ? Do I think that God is omnipresent, omnipotent? These questions you need to find out within yourself before you go and face the world. So study your Bible, read it, do your devotions, pray without ceasing, whatever it takes to get that firm foundation so that in the face of danger, in the face of the world, in the face of trials and tribulations, in the valley of the shadow of death, you can remain strong. And it's not just us. This is for each and every one. It's because you are going to get tested.
Thank you.
No worries.
Hi, I was just wondering where the money goes that gets donated to the organization.
Starbucks. I usually spend it all. 100% of profits, Starbucks and H&M. We don't see a dollar of it. It's not, we've never ever made 1 cent off these projects, but
we
are
working on funding some new art schools in India, and so I'm still at least 25%, but I'm hoping a lot more, like 50 or even 75%, is going to go toward funding art schools in India. So we had such a legendary experience. The one we visited, and the organization we worked with desperately is trying to get more kids out of the brothels, because it's very easily if mom is working and the guy doesn't want mom, they'll just grab the kid really quick. And so it's key to get the kids out of the brothels for sure, just to stop the spreading of it. And so we're trying desperately to get art schools built in India. So at least 25%, but I'm trying desperately for at least a half or 75% to go there.
And we're really trying to get grant writers to begin getting grants, because I would love to put Sarah on full-time salary. I'd love her to go on full-time salary, so this is her primary, job in life. But for now, you live in dual lives and dual jobs. So someday I hope to get grants and hopefully we can get Sarah set up so where that Faceless is her job. But as for now, every cent that we see is turned just into Faceless. Into the Faceless and the projects that we work on.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering, you guys do a lot of humanitarian stuff and you are under a Christian label. How are you sharing the gospel with these people?
On Faceless or on the music side of things?
Both.
Well, with Faceless, it's a number of things. I think the primary one is when is the relationships that I discussed earlier. Once you begin a relationship, I'm not too good with shotgun gospel where it's just like Jesus loves you and then leave. It's not about that, because that doesn't impact anybody's life, because as you know, if anybody's been into a general market job, that people don't listen to just words, they want to see actions. The statistic was astounding when I read that 80% of Americans believe they're Christians. I mean, seriously, come on. I mean, if Bill Clinton's a Christian, I want a new religion. So, no offense to Bill. But I'm serious. It just feels like people watch your actions. They want to see what you're gonna do. How do you live your life? So we go in there and hopefully become their friends. And then through that, and through them watching, our actions, why are you doing this? What is the purpose behind it? People want to know the meanings behind, why are you in my country? Why did you fly and spend your hard-earned money that grows on trees, obviously, to fly to Haiti, to go up to work, to carry these buckets of water up? And so through that, we share, and then we've had several opportunities to talk about in India. By the last day, it was so beautiful, because Jesus always finds a way to use us to be able to share the gospel. And so the last day, there we were in India in front of all the children from Abniab, all their parents.
Random army guys in big tanks. My first time seeing army tanks was in India. It was kind of crazy.
But it was incredible. So you have all these people, and then God allowed me the opportunity to walk up and explain, and talk about Jesus Christ. And so it was beautiful. But in the music world, it's even more so about actions, because they've seen it all, they've heard it all, they've done it all. But it's just been incredible, again, how Jesus, allows me opportunities to talk to people. I can't tell you who, but there's a very, very, very prominent band who the lead singer walked up to me, and day one, second one, walks beeline right towards me and goes, I just got off cocaine, and I want you to keep me accountable this entire tour to stay off it. And I was like, my name's Steven. Literally that's how it was. And it was incredible, because I don't have to walk into a place and go, you're all going to hell. Because they know that's not how I'm gonna be. I'm not like that. I'm there with arms open wide to say, listen, we are Christians, but you know what? I'm not gonna sit there and point every time you get a beer. I'm not gonna follow you around the club or whatever it takes. What I am gonna do there is stand there and be available. And it was one of the highest compliments, even in, there was a Christian magazine that's here, and Pete Wentz, the Fall Out Boy, was, somebody asked him about Jesus Christ, and the magazine just was interviewing and said, what do you think about Jesus Christ? He said, I was never exposed to it until I toured with Anberlin. And that to me was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm doing my job. And even though I don't get on stage every night and give the gospel message in a 4-point series with a PowerPoint presentation and a closing with a praise and worship and a tithe and offering, people know what we stand for. And every night, practically every night of tour, somebody comes to me, tell me about this. I don't understand this. And so again, it's about preaching the gospel at all times and when necessary use words. Now, I'm not saying that this alienates or discredits pastors, evangelicals or evangelists or missionaries, not at all. But I feel like that we are the body of Christ, and I'm the foot. I am just merely the humble little foot who just travels into different places that a lot of people can't go. There's a lot of bands that call themselves Christian bands that will never be asked to play Warped Tour. And then there's bands like Norma Jean that are going to be asked to play Warped Tour and be out there and be able to be seen as a witness and a light into the world and a salt. And so yeah, that's where I feel like our ministry is on both places. Do you have anything to add as far as
I'm
Faceless?
just proud to be your friend at this point in time.
Just the foot.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap things up. Do you have one final very quick word to say? Sarah?
Man, well, I want to just go back in case, people missed this earlier. But James said to be doers of the word and not just hearers. And in the same way, our mission as Faceless is to be doers, is to go into all the world and preach the gospel, is to love the widows and orphans. And we can't do this alone, and it's not about Faceless. I promise you that Faceless will not be around in 100 years, but what will be around in 100 years is the lives that you touch and change, passed down from generation to generation to generation. So go out there and be doers of the word. Start your own organizations. Go out there and touch people's lives. It doesn't matter about status or socioeconomical status or popularity. It does not matter. This world is so fast. It is a vapor. Go out there and touch lives and change lives, because you know what? Your Jaguar, your Land Rover, they're going to break down. You know, it's not about the money or the financial situation you're able to put yourself or your family in. It's about the lives that you touch and change for Jesus Christ. So go out there, be doers. Thank you guys very, very much on behalf of Sarah and myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Christian from Anberlin and Sarah Freeman, Faceless International. Thanks so much for joining us today. Stephen, if you would please take the time to come back and sign our artist registry. You too, Sarah.